mind if we could just go to that. Here's the first floor gym. So you have your main lobby, a little sitting area, package room, mail room, and the gym's on the front over here. This is the 37 parking spaces here. The lower level that you saw before had the balance to get the 72 parking spaces.
Are there any support columns in the parking area?
There will be. Obviously, this is just an initial.
Just because these spots are really tight.
Yeah, yes, but we have some room, obviously, and we can space them out. If you can see, obviously, there's room here, here. There's a lot of room in here. There's some more room in between these areas in here. So we can space them out. This is more or less just concept, obviously, at this point, massing, aesthetic, general concept as far as a zoning study and presentation.
And the first floor actually has a single two-bedroom apartment in
Yes.
the corner?
Yes, that would most likely be the super's apartment. There are 44 units total in the building.
That's a big super apartment, right? 1,600 square feet.
If you just could go back to the rendering again, please. Oh, actually, let's go to the site plan for a second. I'm sorry. Just want to point that out. So the main traffic pattern, as far as the ingress and egress to the site, Guffel Lane, we have a drop-off over here, so we don't have traffic backing up on Middle Neck Road. So we have a drop-off over here, and then entrance ramp down over here to get to that lower level of those parking spaces. This is the side, Guffel Lane. Gutile, sorry.
A little bit. Just let them finish their presentation. It's just a presentation, okay?
So, and then coming back to the rendering of the facade, you can see Middle Neck Road is the main facade that you're seeing here. We've played with a mixture of textures, a mixture of surfaces, pulled the building in and out. Obviously, as I mentioned before, stepped the fourth floor to help break up the mass of the building. Obviously, the entrance is announced by not only the glass canopy there, but the glass element going for those 3 stories, and then the articulation at that upper story as well.
The setback is about 20 feet?
The building itself from Middle Neck is about 20, and the sides are about 15.
Okay.
Yes.
And have you done any
The
shadows?
building itself. The 10 feet I was referring to before was the 4th floor from the building facade itself.
Have you done any preliminary shadow studies?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Are those available? Or?
Don't know if we have them digitally. I do have boards if
The
necessary.
shadow is going to be mostly on the northern side,
On good?
on the street, on the good side.
On good. I don't know if it's affecting any.
I mean, if it's going across.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And maybe in the
No,
winter time.
no, winter.
Right?
I don't think I'm concerned, just the penthouse, just the penthouse level.
Yeah, the penthouse level is not going to hold.
I don't think, but I don't know.
They said 50% back on the sides, 20 continues.
So, but
50 on the
it's
side, 10 in the front. No, 20.
10
Which is the
is this, the 4th floor is set back 10 feet from. It's 20 from the sidewalk, correct? Not from the curb,
From the property line.
from property line.
Property.
20 from the property line on
So it's more than, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's effectively set back.
No, it's 20 from the property line.
So we
Property line is at the
have to remember about that speaker. So,
sidewalk.
so you can see here, there's a few different studies here. You know, 4th floor bulkheads. They're put in different tones in there. This was taken March 21st. We have different times of the year, but you can see the variations of the shadows at different times and at different heights, so you can see the intensity. Obviously, that center area within its own property is casting the heaviest shadow onto itself, and as the sun is passing through, it is casting some of a shadow on the adjacent property, but most of the intensity is actually on the city, on the street, and onto itself.
And the shadow is how many feet?
Feet, depends on-
I couldn't, we just have to go by the photo and the overlay in the model just to give you that.
Ow.
So depending on the time of year, right, the shadow, the sun's going to be lower, and it could be a longer shadow, not as intense on the city street on Guthel, Guthel. I'm going to call it G Lane for tonight, guys. But and we obviously have the studies here, and we can submit them, and the board can digest
Let
it
me
in
ask
more
you,
detail.
That's north, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
North is up.
The
The
entrance
entrance
is
is facing north.
How is it that you're getting shadow on the southern part of the building?
Because in the afternoon, the sun comes around.
Yeah, even if the sun comes around, it's still
In the morning, in the,
no. See, that's north. The
Mayor,
sun.
Mayor,
This is north side.
in the morning, and with the sun kind of does an arc, so it's casting a shadow even on the south side.
Yeah.
The sun does an arc. That's
Unless
a shadow.
Unless it almost sets on, okay. I thought that you barely ever get a shadow
No.
in the northern hemisphere in the wintertime,
My,
in the
my,
south side.
my
Well,
north,
keep in mind, this is June. That one is June.
This is June.
my north-facing porch, which is blocked by my house, is bathed in sunlight in the morning and in the late afternoon. Because the sun arcs around.
Here's December.
That's-
Is that what you were
makes
picturing?
more sense, right.
Yeah.
That, okay,
Right, that's why, depending on what time of year.
okay.
And so these will be for your
So
records,
just
so
go
you
that
can
way. Okay,
study them
that's
more.
fine.
If you have any questions,
Okay.
we can certainly get into that in further
That's okay.
detail.
So those front yard, those houses across the street are
Yes.
heavily in the shadow in the winter.
Cross the street in the wintertime.
We're not up to public comment yet. You'll have all the time to do that.
Time the drawing going to be all removed, how do I going to ask a question?
You
Put it
could
back
put
on.
it back up.
Okay, thank you.
So unless the board has any other questions, that was just our overview of the project at this time.
Okay. So,
Oh,
a
thank
couple
you.
of questions.
I'm sorry. The building to the fourth story is 40 feet, and the penthouse would be 50 feet.
Okay. And based on the current codes, you're allowed
42 and 4 stories,
42 and 4 stories.
and a lobby on the roof of a maximum of 100 square feet for the elevator
Right.
and stair.
Where does the 42 come from?
The code.
The code, village code.
Say, is it zoning or the code?
The code, that's the same thing.
3 floors and 30 in Z code, and the incentive brings it to 4
42.
floors and 42.
Right.
Correct. So we would be seeking incentive zoning.
Right.
On this.
Even with incentive zoning, I
And-
think you
yes,
still
and-
probably need a variance.
Correct.
The lawyer did not state properly that they know that this requires variances.
Right.
For him to say that it was undetermined is an improper statement.
Well, I mean,
Design calls for variances.
Well, there's incentives and variance.
Correct. I'll say the bulk of the building is designed to be compliant with the incentive zoning. The penthouse would certainly require a variance.
again, this is the initial, but okay.
Just to remind everybody, this is just a presentation of a concept.
Yes.
All right.
This is not being built right now. This is just a concept.
It's just a
Yeah.
concept at this point.
Yes.
If something is legally wrong, you want to talk about it right now, since
No,
it's still a
no,
concept,
it's a
right?
presentation.
I know, I know.
You'll have an opportunity to do that at a public
Well,
hearing.
probably it's too late. You guys wasted time.
It's not-
eventually, you know, if something really, really wrong, you're wasting your time until the public hearing.
They're going above the.
You want to hear it now, probably.
No, no, we don't understand.
That's why I need to explain to you.
Okay, guys, please stop.
Germinate. Think about it. You got the presentation, just think about it, and then there will be another meeting.
Of
and
course,
then we can
you'll
talk
be, you'll
about
have
it.
you'll have a time to
mean,
put
if
all
you
your
have-
concerns down, and we'll address everything. Nobody's
If
approving.
you would like to come and discuss it with me, I'm available every day. I have the plan.
So let
I have
me,
the plan too.
At public discussion, he could bring up any money.
Absolutely.
Is there any provision for the low-income housing at all?
is there going to be any low-income housing, or I should say, no, it's not low-income
Not
housing.
low,
Workforce.
Workforce housing.
sorry.
It depends on the number of units, if they're going above the allowable units. Then.
Correct, only if it exceeds that,
Right.
the allowable units, but
So
it's
I
not
don't
the
know if it is.
intention.
It's not, it's, the intention is not to go above the allowable
Correct.
units.
Correct. The intention is not to,
The
Then
qu-
let's get the specifics on the
So the,
table.
right, so my question is, when you get the incentive, isn't that automatically put you at a higher number than the code allows, therefore puts you in a situation to provide workforce housing?
that would only be if you
Because the
maximize
code-
the unit.
Because the code has the incentive.
So it's still going to be,
It increases the density that you are allowed before you trigger that. However, it's at the board's discretion.
it's right, it's an
to
incentive,
consider.
right, it is an incentive, so,
The incentive might carry that as part of the
That's true.
requirements.
okay.
And the site is just shy of 1 acre.
Okay, and you're allowed 42 units per acre. So if it's just in the
Then it
incentive,
should not be 44.
then it sounds like from the facts that we are receiving, this may not have reconciled.
Right, okay, you know, I think, again, this is a very preliminary presentation. I think those things can be worked out. And again, you can choose to reduce the number to a number that doesn't require, obviously, just, it is the board's wish to have some workforce housing, if we go ahead with this.
It's only the number of units, doesn't matter how big the units are.
No. I mean, if you want to have if you have any questions, the public has any questions to want to raise, I think it's not a bad idea to have some questions or some concerns raised so they can address those, if and when they wish to come back for a presentation. So, you had certain questions you wanted to ask?
Come on up.
You can come on up.
Thank you. Ken Lee, 7 Goodsville Lane. Okay, one of the plan I saw earlier, when you guys are working on the rezone, I remember barely, at least the entry of the car is not inside of Garfield Lane,
Futile.
Goodtile Lane.
Thank you.
Thank you. The bus was recording what sounds like Garfield. Okay, anyway. Okay, you can call it G.
You know what?
whatever.
Guys, this is not an
Okay.
issue.
Yeah, however you want to pronounce it. is fine.
Okay, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
The presentation doesn't say correctly the relationship to the neighborhood. If you show this massing in a dead-end street with originally only 10 units, okay, you think about there are probably at most 20 cars entering that street. Now, how many cars we're gonna have? I do not know, okay? Okay, so you are, the layout basically, I don't want to say that word, but you are sacrificing the people currently living in that street by dump all your cars into that small, currently quiet private street. I do not know how the other people will respond, but for me, this is a big kill, okay? I'll swear if anything, something like that got built, I and my family go to lie in front of that driveway every single day. I promise you, okay? You need to think about the impact first, how this building affect the whole street currently. That street was the dead end, you have current 10 units. Secondly, okay, the attorney probably saying this building, this property has been there 15 years. I do not know this law, I'm pretty sure this law probably including that landmark building has been torn down. So, that building has been torn down less than 15 years ago. and magically got merged into this so-called the same business district magically less than 15 years ago. So I do not know where the 15 years of deal of this one coming from. Okay, so secondly, I don't really care about the shadow study anyway. With the shadow study, since the building is on the south side of the street, so it had the least impact shadow-wise to the neighborhood. The problem is the whole orientation and the number of units and the density of this project. And I don't see any incentive they bring to the neighborhood, okay, other than a big massing right inside of a originally very quiet street corner. Okay, so the scale, and also, I do not requirement from the zoning purpose in terms of side yard or front yard. It was never addressed, but you can see the building next door, all this 1.5 story houses are not that deeper from the street side, but your building with 3-story up is right there. Okay, I think that's more serious as a massing study issue than just the shadow study only. This is really my basic comment, but I personally living in that street long enough, I think this traffic pattern is a killer for me. Okay, and I might have more comments, but right now, I just want you guys to understand the whole thing way better. In the original plan and proposal earlier in this rezoning, middle neck rezoning, I think they were talking about discharging the traffic onto Middle Neck Road, but that apparently is going to create other problems. You might even need a green, traffic light. But this is not very fair to anyone living there currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on.
I think that I'm asking you a question. My question is, what is the water table for you to be able to put the pool at a lower level, given that 2 blocks away, when a synagogue went in, just past the corner of Hicks and Middle Neck, when they wanted to put a mikveh in, 2nd level down, they hit water. And I know that the water table gets shallower the further up the peninsula we go. So is the water table part of something you're considering in the development?
May I respond?
Yes, please.
I do not believe we have full soil borings and geotech report on the site at this point. I know we have done construction nearby on the peninsula and and have proposed 2 stories of below-grade parking without coming near the water table. Obviously, as we move forward, we will certainly do a full geotechnical analysis, and if we find out that it's a higher water table, we'll have to adjust the design.
Sam?
Sam Yellis, Holly's Lane. I'm just confused because the elevations show the entrance on Middle Neck Road, but I thought the plan shows the entrance on Gut Tile?
There's the driveway that goes to Guth Isle, and then the entrance.
So,
There is a lobby entrance on Middle Neck.
so the lobby entrance off Middle Neck, the main facade that we're looking at on the rendering, is off
Hold on
Middle
one
Neck.
second. Could you get to the screen that shows the lobby level? No.
So that's Middle Neck.
There's a floor level that shows a lobby
Yep.
with 2 entrances. No.
No, one more.
Keep going, one more.
Keep going. One more.
There you go.
So that's Middle Neck.
Oh,
It's okay.
On the side.
Yes,
Yeah,
Middle
so,
Neck is
so
the
Middle
left
Neck's
side.
on the left side of the plan, and the drop-off that I was referring to is obviously sort of the courtyard, if you will, that also has a secondary entrance into the same space.
so people can actually walk in and out to Middle Neck Road, but they can't drive. So there's not going to be any curb cuts on Middle Neck Road.
I was just
Correct.
confused because on one, it was Middle Neck Road was on the bottom and now it's on the side. This is beside, the bottom of this is bordering the DPW.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I actually have one more question, if I may.
Yep.
As I recall,
Use the mic.
Mike?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, I think I'm loud enough anyway, right? As I recall, that when 720 Middle Neck Road, Oxford Plaza, was in application stages, the entrance was going to be, there was going to be a much more complex entrance on Arundel Avenue. And Arundel Avenue is a bigger street than Gutile. And it was nixed. That's why Oxford Plaza now, I think it's called Oxford Plaza,
Yeah.
right? That's why Oxford Plaza has the entrance on Middle Neck Road that you come in, and it's almost a semicircular area you come into. And this essentially proposes,
But the garage is still on Arundel, I think.
No, no, there's
Oh,
no,
no.
there's no entrance from Arundel.
Oh, it's only on the right-hand side?
Only
Okay.
on Middle Neck Road.
right, so, no, you know, and I can be wrong about that, I'm just asking.
No, it's okay.
Right. Is there, did you, or would you consider an Gutile is a tiny street, although I would hate to have it on Middle Neck Road. At the same time, it would require, obviously, a much more, a major change in the architectural rendering. But I'm wondering about that entrance on that on that major car entrance and exit, the egress on a tiny street. That's my question. That's for you to think about. I don't really need an answer tonight.
And there's no traffic light there now, right?
No.
No, not on Gutai. David?
But it is directly across from Steamboat, which is a busy traffic turn. But it's a little offset.
No, it's offset, it's north, I think it's a bit north.
Yeah, but
David
it's-
Slenziger, 15 Beach Road. I had a couple of questions. First, the pool, that's going to be an indoor pool for year-round use. So if you were to not install the pool, could you put another or several more apartment units in the space or not? It's going to be downstairs, fine, that answers another thing.
2 levels
and,
below.
And in terms of the desirability of having that, as well as that fitness center, you indicate there's demand for those sorts of things inside apartments now?
Yes.
And also, who is the owner of this property now? Who actually owns this property that's been vacant for so many years?
I'm actually not certain he technically owns it at this stage as far as the transaction. I don't know, so I'd have to look at the,
I'm sure it's an LLC of some sort.
I don't know if,
Uh-huh. Well, who's proposing this then? Is the owner proposing to do this? Are you representing the owner, or is this the owner has hired you to design and present this?
Are you asking if
project?
the owner is the developer?
Pardon me?
Are you asking if the owner of the land is the developer?
The applicant is.
Yeah.
That's,
Who is it?
well, the owner is the applicant, so.
There is no application.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Well, I understand that, but as of right now, you don't know who the owner of the property is?
all I'm saying is I'm not certain if my client is in possession of title on the property. I just haven't asked that question.
Uh-huh.
It's not something I typically
Well,
go
well,
down that path.
Yeah, it's a
Could you
public
tell the
record.
public who your client is?
It's a public record who the owner
What is the,
Well, who is it? I mean, this is,
he's presenting, does it make any difference if it's
yeah,
Joe or?
I think the public ought to know who's proposing
But
this.
why? I mean.
Well, look, is it another Lalazarian project or not?
Well, so let me ask you, David, if it's Lalazarian, we should say no, if
No,
it's Joe
I
Schmo, we should
think
say
we
yes?
have a right to know.
You'll know when it comes to the presentation. It's transparency, but it's for him to tell you, and he doesn't know the owner. You can. It's
Yeah.
not a secret.
It's not a secret, none of us know.
One more question. Is there an
Why don't you
estimated?
go check it? The public record. It's an LLC. It's a presentation. I don't think it's the responsibility of the board to know if Jack is doing this building or Joe is doing
I
this
think
building.
as the village board of
When
trustees of this village, it is in your interest to know.
Mr.
Can you
Zelenziger.
explain to me why?
It is in your interest.
Explain to
know.
me why.
Why? Because we want to know who's making.
Explain to me why. What's the difference?
Because we all live in this village.
But explain
and
to
we
me
will
why.
all be affected by this this project.
True,
just seems to
regardless
be-
will be affected if it gets built. So what's the difference if Jack is building it or Joe is building
Because
it?
I
don't
think
know.
we have a right to know who's
Mr.
behind
Mayor?
it. I would also like to know, what's the estimated cost of this, of this project?
I don't know why we're discussing this.
Yeah, but you've told us we don't have an official.
Mayor.
If this moves forward and becomes a formal application.
Yes,
The owner's information will be on the application.
Of
as well
course.
as the construction costs.
okay, thank you.
Yes, Gene.
I think to answer that, David's question is, we probably would like to know who the owner is, only for the fact that we want to know that they're financially able to complete this project once they start, not like so many other projects that started years ago and haven't been finished yet. I think that's what David was trying to get at. Anyway,
That this developer
can finish without, yeah. I think we have to begin to establish whether our zoning laws, whether we're on the books 3 stories or not. We're zoned for 3 stories, but it seems everybody wants to do 4 or 5. Do we have 3 stories on the books, or are we going to go for 4 stories?
Well, the zoning laws were changed in 2013, 2 years before this administration came about. We did try to change the zoning and make it 3 stories of residential and the first floor to be commercial, but that was not accepted, and we dropped it. But this is actually the code, and this is what you guys were protesting, but unfortunately we didn't pass the other resolution that we were thinking of only 3 stories. So we are stuck with 4. So that's the code.
So everybody that comes into our village now can build 4 stories, correct?
No.
No,
No, wait.
no,
I'm
it's
asking the board.
the 4th story is an incentive zone.
So they can build 4 stories?
They can, if the board allows them to, yes.
And only in the
Oh, right,
Residence E.
Right.
Where the incentive zone
Right.
applies.
So because if you do it for one, you're going to have others
No,
want
that's
to
not
mix?
true.
No.
No, they
Well,
have, because
But sorry, I can't listen if you're talking.
the way the incentive zone works is at the pleasure of the board to hear, that's the way,
kind of
that's,
difficult, because favoritism here or there, or
it's
if
not
you know
favoritism,
someone, or you
well,
know,
it
that's
does
kind
get, it does,
sticky.
well, that's the way the code is written.
Okay.
And the reason is if they come in and present and they are asking for an incentive, that incentive should be either paid in lieu of a public benefit or a public benefit. So that's what, when I say it's at the pleasure, it means that they have to provide something that the community needs. So, but again, Gene,
So
you were
seven-
there when they passed
Okay.
when they passed it.
So 733 could do the same thing. They want 4
They-
stories and they.
Well, that's the
You
zone.
get it? Next block, they can have it, right?
Gene,
Okay.
that's the zone.
Okay.
That's what was done 6
Okay.
years ago.
When you presented this before, over a year ago, it was a totally different look. You had
Was
the
this
pub-
presented 4 years?
No,
Yeah.
she's talking about DPW.
No,
No, this has been,
I'm not talking,
this-
you're not building an
Gene is
apartment
correct.
building.
This project in another form
Yes,
was presented to what was the zoning board, not the.
Oh, not
Board of
us.
Trustees.
and it had the promenade, remember how we were going?
I did not, no,
Yes.
this is not, you're wrong. That's not this property.
That's not.
This is not this property. This property has not, from my
This is
knowledge,
service
has not
center.
been,
That's the property including the
DPW.
Yes.
right, but this has not been presented. This is standalone
Okay.
property north of DPW.
Okay,
They-
what
They got tired of
happened,
waiting for us.
what happened to your 1 car per unit that you were hoping to pass? You said if people want to come and build here in our village, apartments would only be allowed one car
Well,
per
I mean,
unit.
again,
Only be allowed.
Has
all-
that gone by the
it's-
wayside
it's not
too?
gone
They
by
would
the
only be
ways-
allowed, that we
Who's
would allow.
talking? One at a time, please.
Right, so it's not gone by the wayside. We tried to push that idea, and people
And it didn't
came
work, right?
in droves. And, well, can that by itself work? Maybe, but also you have to realize when you go ahead and push the idea, that idea has to be accepted by Nassau County as well. Do I believe that it can work and it will decrease the traffic? Yes. Less cars, less traffic, but also it has to be that the developers are willing to do so. Most, from what I've heard, they are. Some may not be, depending on the type of structure that they're putting up and the type of clients that they're trying to attract. People came here before. I remember when it was, which building is it? The 3 stories that is going to be built, or they're trying to, they made an application. Sorry?
523.
523.
Little like pharmacy building.
Right. So they are proposing 1 per,
Unit?
right, 1 per apartment.
Less than one.
Less than 1. And
No, less than one.
so obviously he's attracting, or he's trying to attract a different clientele. This application, it's not an application, this developer is thinking of attracting a different type of clientele. So those are the things that we can
No, I
discuss.
just remember it was one of your strong
It-
talking
and
points of
it is,
Manhattan,
but again,
only 1 a unit.
True.
We could do it here, and I'm wondering what happened.
no, this is
No,
this
it's
is more
not.
than 1. It's
72
77 and
spots
44.
We've got 44 units, 72
Well, those are the things,
cars.
again, Gene, those are the things that I'm sure we can discuss if this goes through anything. But for now, this is just a preliminary presentation.
This is a concept.
So have you are they going to do a traffic study for that corner?
Again, this is just a preliminary.
No,
All
I'm
those things
asking
need to be
because
done.
that's something they
You have to
have to-
realize, Gene, this has to go to the Nassau County Planning Commission. If anything goes to Nassau County Planning Commission as part of the application, they must have traffic study, parking study, all those studies need to be done. The reason I agreed for this presentation to be given is to hear the thoughts of the community and what
That's
they're
what we-
thinking.
that's what we're
Not to, sorry?
That's why we're here.
That's why we have the meeting, for you to come and make comments. Also, I would appreciate, as I have said before, if you are obviously being affected by it because you live in Guth Isle, the question is, what would you propose to be built in this?
You want me to design it? Fine.
I didn't ask you to design it, sir.
Then what ask me for?
I didn't ask you for a design.
He
I
asked you
didn't
for-
ask you for a design.
I'm glad to design something for
Well,
that
you didn't
you-
understand
yes.
my question. I'm going to rephrase my question.
I'll give you my business card.
Okay, so
The
I think we
main
move
thing
on
is,
then.
you're talking about 72 cars again, just the next block, how many cars if that one gets approved?
Gene, you
how
have to
many more?
realize this is,
Just
you see,
that corner,
right, so
that
what I would
part
suggest for you
cannot
to
take
do,
it.
right, first of all, this is not for the board to approve. But I give you one thing. What I ask you to do, if you have time, I know you don't drive, but if you can go and to Avalon on Vista Hill and just sit there for maybe 2-3 hours during any time you want and see how many cars come out and how many cars go in.
It's fine, this is not
But no, listen,
Steamboat
listen,
Road and
listen.
Hicks Lane
Gene,
area.
listen to what I'm saying. You need to know, that is 191 units, right? 191 units, how many cars? 400, almost? Let's say, 400 parking spots. See how many cars come out and how many cars go in. In that, when they go into the South Vista, I'm into the, is it called the East Vista? East Vista, right,
Yeah.
extension of the Vista. If you see a significant number of cars coming in and going out.
No,
I
I
understand.
don't. Like-
So
See it often.
cars are cars, and I tell you another thing.
They're mostly parked. 95%
Right.
of the time, they're
No,
parked.
I'm not.
No, but Gene,
Avalon's fine.
But it's-
We're talking about the top of between Steamboat and Hicks.
but what's the?
It's a horror
No, no,
scene.
Gene, but the question is not how many cars are gonna be parked in the garage. We'll get to all the questions. Let me,
All you guys are defending for this.
It's not a
Nobody-
defense.
No,
No,
yes,
you
you are right now. You
No,
are
but I'm
saying-
explaining, this
you
is not
said
a defense.
No, we want to see a
No, but the-
third-party analysis, not you guys' comments. You cannot use anyone except.
Well,
Okay, then we won't comment.
But then we won't comment. You know what? This is, sir, you had your chance to ask questions. You asked, we answered. We could have to, stop for a second, please. Stop for a second. No, stop for, this is not a defense. This is an explanation.
You both are. The records we're going to show you because you're all saying you have 186 stars.
Yeah,
blah,
but
blah, blah,
you
blah,
also
blah.
Right, this is an
It's your own-
explanation.
It's your own experience.
This is an
okay?
explanation to the question she
Why
asked.
won't you explain for the other people?
She asked me a question. I'm
Yes.
explaining what
Then
I
you have
know.
to say we have to go through the.
I am
study.
explaining her
You have
to
to
what I
say
know.
we Do the study. You're not saying because the other job doesn't have any pack. It's not the same.
Okay.
thing.
Say this could be a
You're not
traffic
gonna say
study?
the other thing.
Can you say that has to be a traffic study?
Well, I don't know. Did you hear what I said? That if it goes to
hear
Nassau
clearly.
County, so
I
so
hear
why are you
clearly.
making an issue? I know, but you know
You
what? The
just wanna
other thing,
interrupt,
you
right?
know, okay, this is.
You just
I
want to
think
interrupt.
it's
But you see, Nassau County doesn't come up and stand on that corner or try to cross the road, or where the bus turns the corner on Avondale, which is another issue. That bus ended up on the sidewalk the other day because it couldn't make the turn. Because when you have two cars coming up and you've got all that traffic, it can't
But
move.
you know, again, you know, the traffic, they cannot do anything without a proper traffic study. One, two, as I said, my experience and what I have seen is that from Avalon is that there are not so many cars coming in and out. Now I know that there are some people that are against any development,
not
but
like-
that's
it's not
what it is.
like
I'm not
that.
I'm not saying that this board is accepting or not accepting. We're just discussing it. You know, things
first
like
time
this.
we're
You know what I
seeing it.
tell you?
But
Situations
Avalon's
like this,
fine.
Gene,
discussing
Gene,
About up in Arden.
This is
situations
called a
in- you know
discussion.
what?
It's called a conversation. We're all gathering information. Okay, we're allowed to talk. We're allowed to talk without being interrupted. We're allowed to talk without being accused of being on one side or another. We're seeing it the same way you're seeing it. I'm very interested in knowing what this developer has in mind, whether it works. I'm interested in hearing what the people on Gut Heil feel about it.
You
what the
really
people.
need to come and stand there. You know, you had a traffic study done, not you personally, years ago.
Gene,
when
I walked the
Oxford
village.
Plaza,
Yes.
no wait, when Oxford Plaza was going in, the traffic study guy actually met me the one morning. He lasted with me. I made him get out of his car to do the study, not sit in his car and watch cars. I made him cross the road with me a couple of times. He nearly had a heart attack. And he left. No, I don't talk English like you, Rebecca. I say what comes out. That traffic study guy didn't last 20 minutes with me. He left, and then the village got a phone call. They said, that woman that you sent to do the traffic study with me, to just observe, she made me sick. I nearly had a heart attack. She made me cross the road 3 times. I nearly got run over. That's your traffic study, people.
Yeah, please.
I think,
Bob, would you like to be heard?
hi, you know, they're just, yeah, thank you, sweetheart. They're just two things. One is that, I think part of the reason this gentleman got so upset is because you said he's so closely affected and he lives there. When the 3-acre the woodland watershed application went before the BZA years and years in a row, and there were those of us who opposed it, people said to me, but that's not in your backyard. Why are you joining in to the opposition to the development of this woodland watershed? And my response was, and there are those people in the room who will remember this, my response was the whole peninsula is my backyard. So a person who lives on Gutile Lane is not the only person who's going to be affected, because there's that domino effect on a peninsula. We're closed in by our boundary, and everything that's done in one place invariably boomerangs over to another place, and you can't anticipate it unless you think about it. So it's not really, he's not, even though I'm sympathetic to that very tiny street taking that entranceway, I think it's all our backyards. And I think that's why we asked the questions, and I think he felt a little put upon, and that shouldn't have happened. And the second thing is, to straighten out something I said while Jean was talking, it's that what people seem not to understand is that if you voice opposition in this environment and it's not the hearing, it's not on the record. And the thing you always want to keep in mind is making a record of what's going on in relationship to an application. So first, we listen to the presentation, and we ask questions if we don't understand things. But this isn't the moment to oppose it, because we don't even know anything about it. As far as I can figure out, there are too many open-ended questions here that haven't even been answered. And I think it's instructive to know that this is a test balloon on the part of whomever owns this property, because it's not a formal application. So this is, let's feel the land and see what's going on and ask some questions, and then next time around, maybe we'll know a lot more. But I'm not trying to stop people from talking. I'm trying to make that talking more effective and in the right location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, just 2 minutes. Avalon, that street, no matter what you say about it, there has no neighborhood house got affected. Okay, so it's not a good example. I'm going to say another 2 examples for you to think about it. Okay, Arundel and Middle Neck Road, that white U-shaped building, they didn't have their outlet at the Arundel. They have it on Middle Neck Road, both at drop-off and their ramp. The other example, on Old Mill Road, across the street of the Temple Bethel, they come off only Middle Neck Road. Okay, and both of streets are much bigger, are all public street. Unlike Gothel, it's a dead-end street. Thank you.
Actually, the Versailles does have an entrance sign.
It does, but we can't make
I
comments.
actually think,
We should not make any comments.
yeah,
Don't make comments.
yeah.
In the spirit of giving feedback to the designer and trying to forestall any comments that the board might offer in favor or against, there seems to be a couple of representations made that should be rethought on the design end. One is the positive statement that this building would require at least one variance, if not multiple variances, and I think the board should be told what those variances are. The second thing is the statement that there are 72 parking spaces. If you look at the graphic that's on the board right now, that's a cellar plan. And whereas there is a curb cut that is shown to the top of the drawing that you anticipated, okay. The curb cut that would be coming off of Gutile, that would be coming down this ramp, which is the little quarter round that you see, that is a way to get down. Problem is, we see the same layout on the first floor. There are no ramps. There are no car elevators. And the deputy mayor also raised a very good point, which is structural support. Because columns end up taking a little bit of elbow room and have an impact on the overall size of the spaces and the overall number of cars. So it would be my suggestion that before this board offers any support or non-support, we actually get a parking plan that shows how one gets to the first floor parking and to the cellar.
Of course.
And that is a physical thing that we can actually see a resolution to. Brian.
Yeah, we obviously will further develop that, but the intention was to come in at this level between those 2 piers. That's sort of that X there, if you will. That's sort of like representing a garage door. So we would come in here.
So that's a third curb cut,
Yes.
not shown on the site plan? I'm sorry, Brian,
yes,
I'm
yes.
really trying to be positive,
Yes.
but if the board is told it's an elephant versus a horse, it's important to distinguish
Understood.
exactly what it is that we're looking. So I don't see a third curb cut.
Right where it says
you're-
terrace there should be a third
Okay.
curb cut.
Okay.
Where,
Or in
show that
in
again?
theory,
You see,
four.
but you see where the bushes are at
A
the
fourth
top?
curb cut.
Fourth.
You
Yeah,
see
I'll-
between
I'll
the
do
two
it.
trees?
Yeah.
Between the trees, between the ferns up there, there's another curb
The
cut.
ferns?
Between the ferns.
Oh, no, that's not, no, that, oh, it was not.
That would be, so they're looking for 4 curb cuts on Bhutan. And I'm not trying to say it's a positive or negative, I'm just saying it seems to be incomplete information. And I think the board should benefit from getting the complete picture.
That's a very fair observation and comment. The intention is to have another curb cut there. The garage levels are not interconnected. The upper level comes off grade, and the ramp brings you down. The exterior ramp brings you down to the level below. Obviously, we can rework these curb cuts and have discussions about that.
And can I ask one more question? As a possibility to lighten perhaps some of the load, and this is not, the residents should know, that if we ask questions, it doesn't mean we're supporting or rejecting. This is just informational, and we have curiosities just like you do, okay? Since the garage levels are not interconnected, could one of the entrances perhaps be on Middle Neck Road and one of the entrances on Goodhall, which would perhaps cut
We'll certainly
the
study that.
load?
Understood.
Okay.
May I ask, what we know about the gas pump that's under 7-Eleven right across the street? And how that might interfere with this or be involved in?
I just think, this is just a concept presentation.
I
Yeah,
understand the
so-
concept, but it's something that might need to be put out there now at concept stage, so we know what's going on with it.
From my understanding is that it's actually traveling the other way,
Okay, but still.
north,
traveling south.
northwest.
Yeah, I know, it's going towards our property, I know, but.
You could make that intersection one of the big business in the whole Middle Neck Road.
Say it again?
You could make that intersection the busiest of the whole Middle Neck Road.
Busiest.
Yes.
It already is.
It
It's a
is
very
already.
busy intersection.
And not even counting the people coming more and more off the Steamboat, because all the other development inside along Steamboat, okay? Each one doing their traffic study locally, never really have an overall picture. All the stuff is going to affect every single traffic light along the way, okay?
Have you ever sat there in traffic with how it's a little askew, tile comes over this way, coming from Steamboat goes one way, you have people turning this way, that way. Some people come out of the 7-Eleven, go this way when it's
They are intentionally
So
offset.
this-
Okay.
Similarly like Dix and Arundel, they are intentionally offset because they don't want a direct crossroad, okay? They are intentionally, the audio planner of this town intentionally designed that way. You guys are all screwing them up right now.
I just think that the issue of traffic and traffic study isn't about, no offense, go look at Avalon. So I think that we need to take it, and it's concept stage, I get it, but I think we need to take it now at concept stage and look at it, because we've had the problem, and I think this is where the trust issue comes in, because we've had the problem at not concept stage, where it's been kind of shoved at us in a way that we don't have a say anymore.
In which particular,
project?
which
If
project?
concept stage,
No,
you should
no,
come
which
up
proj-
with
no,
few-
maybe-
you
no.
should come up with a few options.
Which project? Which project
When
was?
we were going through the whole public hearing, I think
Of
that
which-
part of what we talked
Rezoning.
about, the rezoning, is
Oh.
that people felt like it was being put out on people without this preliminary conversation, that these issues need to be addressed now.
Well,
not-
they're presenting it for these issues to be
I get it.
presented.
It's
But
a concept, right?
you have to have forethought. At presentation time, you should be looking at these issues.
But that's what we're doing, and that's why you're talking.
No, but every time I bring
We need
this
to
up,
sit
you're
down
coming
and
back
let
at me saying, this is only
Sit down and let
presentation
me
stuff. I get it, but we need to be
Sit
looking
down.
at these issues.
Right, but you also have to realize that it takes time and money to do the wait.
I wasn't born yesterday. I
No,
grew
but
up
wait,
in
let me
the 80s,
finish.
I know it takes time and money.
No, if,
That's not what I'm
y-
saying
y-
here.
I heard you, but if they come here and we say that we don't even like this idea,
Right.
forget the traffic, We just say, we don't want it. Why should they do the traffic study?
Because we're all sitting at the table now about this property, and whether you say, we don't like this, scratch it, come back to us with something else, these are the conversations we have to have now.
Okay.
So
Bob,
that's why.
by the way, Bob, I just want to ask one
Yeah.
question, okay?
I'm like-
Bob, is it fair to say that the reason that the presentation would come to this board would only be for the incentive, really, at this, that they would be asking for incentive? I mean, there's other reasons, obviously, but,
They'd be coming for site plan as well.
right,
plan
they'd
and
come
also-
for site plan, but,
That's
Okay.
why my suggestion that if you guys call this a concept or whatever, right, or pre-planning whatever, they should come out a few options. You have this much mass in this unit, how you lay them out. It should be a few options, so they don't have to spending all the money doing that fancy rendering eventually if they don't work. Okay, they should come up with a few options, how the massing can lay out, how the traffic can be, arranged better, then everyone can contribute their ideas to help them. Like I said, if we let them go, eventually we all got thrown out. All their time and money and got wasted to do this stuff. This presentation is making no sense by the time you call us as a concept and you show something render like that. And none of the stuff have been you should have more options. If you really want, I'm not talking about only this case. I'm talking eventually, if the right procedure to do it, you should tell them in this planning stage options. Then the boards, whoever want to help them, whoever want to contribute their ideas, we do that. Okay. I'm just trying to put
You
myself.
can give
I'm
ideas
trying to-
now. I
I'm
asked
tr-
you for an
no, I'm
idea.
saying-
You said you want to design
That's
it,
what I'm
but I
saying.
asked you give an idea.
Yeah.
So give. I'm listening for your idea. I
No,
know you're an
I
architect,
have
so
no
tell me.
obligation to design for them, but I would like to, if I want, I don't know what you're going to assign me this job. How do I assign this job for me for? I mean, I
Sir,
can do.
It's not my property to
I
assign
understand.
you.
I know. I
I'm
know. That it's
asking
not my
if you-
job to do it. But
But you said. Okay.
No, no. We are here to criticize or present idea or present our thought about what we see. Now,
So I'm asking you-
after I hear of the stuff, I mean, okay, any architect, I believe even this architect himself, this is in a regular procedure. You do a few layout. You try to figure out which one has the least compact to the neighborhood. If you believe the benefit of neighborhood is the important thing, then that's part of your programming, part of your concept. If you totally ignore that, then I have nothing to say. But consider that the parking is only one thing to think about it. I'm talking about usually you should have a few alternatives so people know exactly, they can see the pros and cons for each of them, which one has the least impact or has the most benefit to the owner too. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You don't really see this and they go back to the drawing board years later, it's not the case. Then this is not the plan. Then everyone wasted their time. Okay, thank you.
In design, you present more than one concept.
Otherwise, you don't even call the concept.
Mr. Mayor, when they resubmit, the building department will analyze it, and we will give them suggestions also. So this is premature, this is just a
Yeah, but
taste.
you know what? Everyone here says that this is to give suggestions. I have not heard one suggestion yet. I mean, I heard that it's going to increase the traffic on Guth Isle. Okay.
I mean, one suggestion.
But I would like to know, but that could
Another
be an
another
issue as-
suggestion that the public can make is maybe that we not approve an incentive level on this building.
But that-
as an
see-
alternative. I'm just saying.
Right, but-
I'm just saying these are the types of things that you can come to us with for consideration that we're looking at for the first time here. Okay, this is that we're just looking at it. That's all. We're considering it. I heard you, Jane. Thank you.
I remember when before,
Harold, would you like to speak?
Sure.
Okay, come up.
Sure, thank you. Harold Citron, 35 Cary Road. So just a few comments and a few questions. I will say this, having driven on Gutile quite a number of times in the past 2 years, it is a very narrow street. Currently, it is a very dark street. However, obviously, with a new building, the lighting could change. But the narrowness should be taken into account, especially given that it is a dead end. So something just to take.
We know
into
that,
account.
thank you.
No, I know, I'm just putting that down. Question regarding the incentive zoning, since you just brought it up, thank you. I'm not familiar with what the current building zoning is. What is the zoning stated? What does it state, and what is the incentive regarding residential buildings for that?
In 10 words or less?
Yes,
Sure.
elevator pitch.
3 stories as of right, 4 stories with an incentive bonus.
So what is the incentive? Obviously, the incentive is the 4th story. What is the payment for the incentive?
Mr. Mayor, if you'd like.
Yes.
The current zoning code has a underlying zoning code. So the underlying zoning code in this area would be Residence E District. There is an overlay zone, which means that in this instance, there is an incentive zone. And so if an applicant comes to the board and says, I would like to build this nature
4th
building
story, right?
with a 4th story or with additional density or with something else that is not otherwise allowed under the underlying zoning code but is allowed under the overlay, they can proffer that suggestion. And with that, they would say the applicant would also like to provide a community benefit.
So is that?
Or a
Let him
payment
finish.
in
I'm
lieu
sorry, okay.
thereof. And the applicant can propose a community benefit, and the board can say, yes, we like that community benefit, or that's not actually a community benefit. We think something else would be more appropriate in this instance.
So that would be the focus of my point here in terms of that community benefit. Is there an underlying list or kind of, I'm sorry, just an idea of how that community benefit comes into play in terms of either dollars, cost, you know, where the approval comes from, the zoning board versus the board. How does that play out?
There is an analysis in the code, in the
So there is a
Middle Neck
specific
Road
structure to that.
incentive overlay zone, and also in the incentive overlay district code. Yes.
So there is a minimum
There is a
in terms of either
a
dollar or
guideline.
benefit wide for the community.
There is a guideline.
Okay.
Yes,
Where would I be able to find that?
that's in the incentive overlay zone.
On the website that's available,
yes,
or?
In the
provision of the
code,
code.
E-code.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And then the last statement I'm just gonna make is in terms of transparency and trust, okay? Transparency is critical in any operation, okay? Whether it's government, whether it's business, you know, anywhere across the board. Trust is developed with transparency. So when the question was asked, who owns the property, that is a part of developing trust between the community and the developer, community and the owner, community and the board. So it's not foolish, it's not out of line to ask earlier in the stage rather than later, before even a formal proposal is offered. And there's a certain expectation that if somebody is presenting something to the community, that you are going to be forthright and transparent. And that by being opaque, there's something to hide. And if there's something to hide with just the ownership, what else is there behind the screen that we need to look for? So that's just my statement. Thanks very much.
No more comments?
I have just one more, if you don't mind. I'll stay where I am. I think that it would be, following up on what Harold had to say. If the board started out essentially saying, we're going to hear a presentation, no comments. But then it became, you can ask questions. Then it became, you can ask questions and make comments. And then it became, you can ask questions and make comments, and you can make proposals too. And so I think that if there were some clarity from the outset, and that clarity was stuck to, I don't care which
Who said
one
that there's no comments?
Right at the beginning.
No,
this
we
is just a
said
presentation.
they're giving the presentation.
Right.
You can hold your comments for the end.
The word comments never appeared in the first
Well,
conversation.
we always have, and you've been here for 4 years that we have been here.
Check the
Right, but
video.
we never said you're not going to make comments. We said we hold the comments at the end. And I think when
Well,
he
if
was
you
asking the
hold
question,
comments at the end with,
Bart said that wait
don't-
until he's done, and then you can make comments.
Right.
That's what Bart said, and I remember that.
Okay, so you want to argue this with me?
There's no argument, but
Okay.
the thing is,
So if you don't want to argue it with me, listen to my recommendation. If you're clear from the outset that people will first ask questions, you are wide open to comments, that you want to help the developer make this a better project, because right now, there's no accepting it or rejecting it, it's not the topic of conversation. If you're clear at the outset, it goes right along with what Harold said about transparency. It makes it easier for all of us, because we're sitting here not clear about what exactly it is allowed to be spoken about, the degree to which it can be spoken about. Can we ask questions? How many? What should we be focusing on? So it's all over the map. There isn't any focus. This thing here, you have to watch the video later and extrapolate, pull out the things that were really relevant to the applicant's application. I thought, and it isn't an application, to the presentation. There are certain things that are crucial to ask, and staying focused is really important, and that's your job. So I wish, in addition to the transparency issue, I think it would focus from the beginning. I'd be really happy.
Rebecca, I just want to make one statement. When Mr. Lee he had a question because he's a resident on that block. He, in the middle of the presentation, he raised his hand, and the mayor said to him that he would get a chance to ask after the presentation. So I thought it was clear. Mr. Lee brought up some very good questions, and I think having alternative plans is a good idea. I support that.
Sorry, just two more things. When I look at the elevation,
I know where you're going to say you're correct. It's not the right elevation. I'll stop it.
the other thing was, if there's
He
no
read your
other
mind.
meeting till October 22nd, Shana Tova Umituka.
Shana Tova.
Have a happy and healthy New Year.
That's what you're looking
Thank
for,
you.
right?
Okay, dokie.
Yeah.
You want to tell everybody what we're
Yeah.
thinking?
No, the rendering is correct, the boards are correct, my copy's correct. I believe the elevation was sent in a separate email. It might not have been updated digitally in here, but that doesn't show the upper floor as far as the penthouse. So
The bottom one
they-
does, doesn't it?
Well, it shows four.
It doesn't show
floors plus a fifth.
it doesn't show the penthouse
Well,
in that.
I was
photo.
going to say it shows 4 floors plus a fifth, not 3 floors
no.
plus a fourth.
No, that's an entrance element that you're looking at on the bottom one, so when you say fifth.
This doesn't count as a floor? That is a floor.
No, that,
1, 2, 3, 4.
done. And that's not a story in that. That's just an architectural element in that version. Trust me, this was only 4 without the penthouse.
Okay. Yeah, but not the whole thing. The
No,
fourth floor shouldn't
no.
be the whole thing. It was just. All right, thanks.
Yeah, the rendering that was presented is accurate. That was shown.
okay.
So here's an idea. I have an idea.
Could you come up?
Okay, I have an idea.
Could you come up? Tell us who you are,
I'll tell
and
you my idea.
just come up.
Here's an opportunity.
Just say it so everyone can hear you.
Kelly Cunningham, 1 Center Drive. Here's an opportunity to do what we've talked in the spring about. You have this project, it has one developer, one owner, one company that owns it. Why not, at some point, use this as a model to actually get the community and the developer and the architect or whoever's involved in the room talking about what this property is going to be. It's 3 different properties owned by the same company. And
Is it 3 different properties owned by the same company? sir?
yes, it's owned by the same company, or it's owned by the same developer.
3
This
lots,
is
you mean?
3 lots.
It's 3 lots.
Okay.
It's 3 lots. It's owned by the same developer. Why don't you use this as the opportunity to do what we've talked about, what you had talked about doing, and getting people discussing what this could look like. If it's going to be developed, this is an opportunity for you to include the community. There's my idea for you.
Thank you. I like that idea. Okay. All right. So, we go to
The next item.
next item. C, safety issues regarding the Hicks Lane and Forest Row. There were a couple of issues in the past couple of months, and also I think there's another one, Fairview and Hampshire. that I keep hearing from. Anyone's here to discuss? Yeah.
Where's the microphone?
Yeah. I think you should get another microphone.
Yeah.
I think we can afford. We can afford a microphone.
My name is Basma Dafudian Livim. I'm a tenant at 23 Hicks Lane.
And I'm David Reed, 29 Hicks Lane.
And I used to live at 29 Hicks Lane also. 23 Hicks Lane.
29.
And actually, we were together at 29 Hicks at one point. Tenants, one with two tenants. We are concerned about the situation at our intersection, Hicks Lane and Forest Row. We have both witnessed, and the neighbors, and actually right now I see the daughter-in-law of my neighbor Mary, who lives at 2021, actually reached out to your mom, but she couldn't come tonight. So I'm sure, I hope you could also attest to what I'm saying, because you frequent the residence too. We are concerned. We've seen quite a lot of horrific accidents as of late at that intersection. I have lived there for approximately 4 years, and I have started to document, although certainly this is not an exhaustive list by any means. I've started to document some pretty noteworthy accidents at that intersection, and I have emailed to that effect and sent photos and any information that came my way. And we would like to see something more done. I have seen cars spin out. David has been a witness to this as well.
The last accident there was just a couple of days ago, and an SUV landed in those bushes right there, almost
Oh,
the
it's right
same,
there. Good.
almost the same spot in the bushes as.
So this is the SUV that was going south?
So I actually haven't witnessed any of these accidents except one partially out of the corner of my eye because I happened to be outside. So more often than not, the neighborhood hears the accident, comes out and sees the.
But do you know how the accident happened? Is it going? I saw the SUV in the bushes, but I just
Right.
don't know if the.
So-
is-
Say it again, I'm gonna say this for the 100th time on every corner. 30 feet from the intersection, 3 feet high, those bushes are not within the village code. That's part of the issue with the sight.
So actually, yes, it's not the issue. Although I agree in certain incidences, that certainly could be an issue. That's not the issue at this residence because everyone sees the stop sign. I see the stop sign.
It's not a question of seeing the stop sign.
It is
It's a
not.
question of seeing cross traffic.
It is speeding. It is.
First of all, it's human behavior. Everybody is on their phone.
Mhm.
Everybody is texting or they're driving, they're not paying attention. This intersection has all-way stops on every one of the signs. See the little sign?
Yeah,
on the
four-way
front?
stop, I see
It
it.
says all-way.
Mhm.
It has a stop sign. There are 30-inch stop signs at each one of those 4 intersections. There's nothing more that you could really do but sit a police officer there and have him write tickets.
But my
So-
question is, how did this accident happen? Was the car going south on Forest?
I
Ro-
didn't see it. I didn't see it. I just.
I didn't see
I
the.
don't know. No, so which? Right. So Rebecca, do you know that I
How
saw
the
the
accident
picture of the
Car.
in the bushes, but I don't know if this car was going and making a turn. Was this guy going south?
First, let me just say this. For that car to be pushed, that's 3 feet, 4 feet of grass median. That's another 4 feet of sidewalk. So I want you to tell me how fast that car was going to push another car 8 feet off of the roadway, plus he's probably 3 feet off of the curb line to begin with. That car had to be flying down that road.
And that,
See, I understand. I mean, I understand that people don't drive safe, but I just don't like to hear. I
Please
just,
stop interrupting.
I,
Please, just
I'm not-
wait.
let me-
It's up here that I'd like to hear what he has to say.
I just don't know if that's enough to say that because people drive bad or drive unsafely, we should just say we can't do anything else.
And the village of Great Neck should get their own police.
That we
Well,
can't
that's
do.
not going to happen.
Okay, so just so you know what the
I wish we
process
could.
of that.
Okay.
No, we can't do it. We missed that boat in 1934, but okay. No.
So this is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination, but at a certain point, around May or so, I started taking note or around May 28th. It's not exact necessarily. There was a major accident where the car was on the sidewalk on or around June 18th.
Hold on.
Yes.
What happened in that instance?
So again,
A car on the sidewalk? Did he drive there? Was he hit?
They are accidents, yes, where there's impact to the magnitude where a car is flying off the road and going either in the 3 instances that I am referring to, the cars fly off the road and go either into the direct corner there, and I can show you.
basically, the last two that I've seen, the cars ended up in
Flipping.
bushes.
Coming from where? That's what we want to know.
We didn't witness it.
We didn't
but-
witness it, and a police report would be a good place to start to get the
You didn't
particulars
get
and
the
the
police
details.
reports? Okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
I did. I do have photos because I walk in, and the police want nothing to. They need to do their job at that point. And I'm not there to like.
It's not that. The police can't write what they don't see. Just like you.
It's yes,
he can't
exactly.
see.
It's
The only thing he's gonna write on his police report.
it's.
is where
He
the
said,
car
she
is.
said.
Is
Well,
the
yeah,
circumstances of
yes,
the accident.
yes. So they have
He
to
can't
ascertain.
see it. He doesn't know who went through what stop sign.
Right.
Unless somebody says, yeah, I went through the stop sign.
Right. So they have to ascertain with the evidence in front of them and make a judgment, I guess.
Hence
So.
the law says
Okay.
right of way.
Correct.
Car to the
So.
right has the right
Correct.
of way.
Correct. So. So.
To the right.
That's what the law says. The law says the car on the right has the right of way.
Correct.
So two people come to the stop sign, whichever car is to your right.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but I do need to get to my babysitter. So sorry. But yeah, sorry. But so I have heard, and I'm sure it's a matter of a public record, that before I came in as a tenant, a car has struck this house. And I didn't know that moving in. A car. If you could go back to that first image, please. So. That May incident, I believe, please don't quote me on it, the car ended up here, right at the corner.
No, it ended up further down in Forest.
I could be wrong. I do have a photo of a car wedged right there, so it could be on another date. It's possible.
The car that hit the house, where did it hit the house?
I have no information
Where she lived.
because that's before my time at that residence, yes.
No, okay.
So it's gotten to this point where there's a thinned out area of bushes there because cars have gone through so many times. Like, I've had cars here, right on the sidewalk. I've had cars, and this is like a wooden border for those bushes. I've had cars end up with the trunk onto the lawn. I'll tell you this as a mom, every year I go out to my bus drivers and I ask them to please pick up and drop off my children here at my driveway in the back because I'm afraid. I've seen too much. We see too much speeding. We see people not giving the right of way. My suspicion on this matter is that people are racing to make that green light on Mill Neck Road. And another thing, thank you. I'm so glad you're here because we've actually discussed this. So
My mom lives next door.
yes.
And we could literally be
Yes.
cars, if somebody sees us and sees the light.
So tell me
Yes.
where do they come from? They come south from,
They're coming from the south, east to west.
are they going east-west?
Towards Middle Neck Road.
They're running to the right. Ah, got it, got it, got it.
Traffic light here, and what happened, I guess on Sunday, I didn't see it, but this.
I also didn't see it. I wasn't home.
There was a vehicle coming in this direction that, and there was another one in the other direction. And both drivers apparently claimed that they had,
Stop.
come to a full stop. However,
That can't be.
remarkably, as was pointed out, subsequent to coming to a full stop, a few feet later, the airbags deployed,
Can't
and,
be.
and at least one of the cars
Can't.
may have been totaled, and,
Wow.
and ended up. in
That can't
bushes.
be that they came to stop.
As was pointed out, well,
Good.
again, it's not
Yeah.
our necessarily.
You're right, exactly.
Officer's job
Right.
to see
Um,
something in the past.
To the distinguished members here,
Please stop yelling out.
Do me a favor, just speak in the microphone so people can hear you.
sorry, I just had one more thing to say. It's kind of scary. I've had my neighbor across from me, and I don't know his name, I'm sorry, but his airbag was deployed recently in an accident. My other neighbor behind me, her husband was involved in an accident at that intersection. I've had someone in my extended family involved in an accident at that intersection.
I think you should have one of those speedometers.
I've called for the pop units. They come. I've been told in the past that they're stretched thin, so they can't come as often.
Right now, they have moved the precinct to the 6th precinct, so I'm hoping that that's going to free them up a little bit.
Okay.
But the question is also, Hicks is a Nassau County road, so if they're
Correct.
speeding on Hicks.
Correct.
I don't
So,
know how much we can do. I can
exactly.
definitely speak to Alan
Yes.
Birnbaum and see if she can do
So,
anything.
exactly. So I found out that it is the jurisdiction within her jurisdiction. It's her purview. So I reached out to Mr. Dan Small
Right.
today, the chief of staff for Ms. Birnbaum, and he has reached out to Public Works and the police and is aware. We also started a petition, and as of 7 p.m. online, we've had 140 signatures. We really need something more than the status quo currently. I'm afraid to have my children play outside. So, yeah, I'll give it.
I think you have to direct it to the Nassau County Police Department. It's a policing issue. It's not an area that there's only 2 stop signs and it needs more stop signs. There's all of the traffic
Right.
devices are in place.
Can I ask you another question? Do you know about what time of the day this happens? Because you can't tell the police to be there 24/7. They won't. But if it happens in the morning time, before the rush hour, we can tell them to be all day, anytime?
There's no rhyme and reason at this intersection.
But it's also not practical to ask the police to be sitting there all the time.
Yes,
I-
and I agree with that. And I feel like we need to maybe look at, I have been very impressed with with Port Washington. I happened to be there on an errand and was waiting at a stoplight and happened to see in the distance LED illuminated stop signs that caught my attention from 100 feet away.
During the day?
During the day.
But you would probably have your attention caught by a regular stop sign too.
Well,
These
I mean-
people don't seem to have their attention caught
No,
by
but
traffic control
meaning
devices.
I'm focusing on the stoplight in front of me, of course, because that's what I need to pay attention to, but in my far vision, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I think
Caught my eye.
I do believe, if I may, if we can get them to put one of these speedometers showing what the speed is that these people are zooming down Hicks, Fairview, Baker, Middle Neck Road, all those places, it can slow some people. I can't say everybody, but at least some people. The radars. Well,
The radar sign.
2,100 to 7,000. I understand,
think-
Lou, I understand that, but you know, if it happened only like between 8 to 9 a.m., say I would ask the police to.
By the way, you know, up at Remsen and Hicks, all day and all night, Kings Point police are giving out tickets for running the
Yeah,
stop sign.
That's true, and
Because that's a very unique area, because the one stop sign is within our jurisdiction, and the other stop sign
Is in Kings Point.
And I
but
guess
they
we're
give
in
out
the
the
same
tickets all day long
situation.
there.
Kings Point does. They're writing it for the people that are going east to west because they know
Yes.
it's returnable to Kings Point.
Right.
Correct.
Also, they have a jurisdiction within a certain.
On their half of the road, they have the jurisdiction.
No,
Yep.
even they can go further a little bit if it's within. I don't know. Right.
Yes, they can extend, but
Right.
they're sitting most often. and
Well, maybe we should
let's
ask
say
Kings
for
Point to
example,
start giving
You
tickets.
never know when the cop's gonna be there.
Assume they will always be there.
I'm not.
Assume they'll always be there.
Yes, please.
Can I make a suggestion? Having lived at 21 Hicks for 7 years and experiencing several accidents where cars ended up on property, the Magley property on the corner, your property, and also right now, one of the signs that was there in one of the pictures is not there, and there's a stump. That's great, because I walked there yesterday and it was still there.
We replaced the stop signs on Sunday.
No, that sign. No, no, no.
Yeah, but it was
The one
replaced.
where
I
the
saw
two
it
people
replaced
are?
Sunday morning.
Still a cone in there.
But just
This,
again speaks to the magnitude of.
this
Yeah.
no parking sign has been replaced?
That's an L parking.
It has not.
Because yesterday it was a metal pole sticking out of the ground.
Yeah.
And was it about a year or so ago that the telephone pole on
Yes,
the opposite
approximately.
So if I can make a suggestion, if someone from the village of Great Neck could ask the police department for the data for the traffic accidents at that corner, and then we will know instead of you just hearing from us.
Well, I
that
tell you, you
it's
know
a
what I
lot
tell
of
you, I get
accidents.
she sends me a message for the past time every time, so I know how many times it's that corner and also Hampshire and Fairview that I get constant text messages or Facebook messages that I get.
If it
So
makes
I
you
know
feel-
that it does
people
happen.
speed
If it
around
makes you
you.
feel any better, it happens at many other
Yeah.
intersections and places in the village.
I live on the corner of Center Drive
It
and
shouldn't make you feel any
Steamboat,
better.
and people, they've been ticketing there more often, and I thank the police officers every time I see them.
Listen,
I'm
accents
gonna
are.
go back to saying once again. those
Police.
bushes, 3 feet high, 30 feet from the corner. That's the first thing that the village, and our responsibility can mitigate.
But you know, Louis, I agree that that's the code.
You can't, you have to go by what the law,
Louis,
the code says that that's what it is, and you have to follow what the code is. There's a reason why somebody made that code.
Yes.
Right.
This, by the way, this road is county road. Forest Road was a county road, that little piece there, although now it's the village
Village,
has accepted that road. And at the time, when the striping and these signs were all put on these roads, Nassau County had in-house traffic engineers that looked at these intersections and decided what they needed. The thing that I see today is, it's people's driving habits. It's their cell phones, it's people not paying attention.
but unfortunately, we can't change
It's their
those.
driving.
I agree.
That's why I keep saying to you, it's a policing issue. The only thing from our standpoint.
Yeah, cut them
all the
bushes.
Traffic control devices are in place.
I'm gonna
The only
skip
thing
next.
from our standpoint, all the other intersections are clear sight lines, except for that one house.
Right. So
Got this, Lynn?
So let me just say one
got
thing.
that?
You see, as far as this goes, people that are driving south on Forest Row can have a perfect vision of people that are driving west on Hicks, and people that are driving north on Forest Row also have good vision of what people are driving west. The only people that may not see the car coming is the people that are coming south from Forest. They don't see anybody going east. But those have not, that has not been, those are not the accidents that I have seen so far.
Or the guy that's heading south on Forest Row is looking and trying to look through the bushes and to see what's coming, going east, and he doesn't see it, and bang, he gets hit.
In this instance, it's not the.
Can I say?
It gets hit from someone that is going
He gets
west.
hit from someone that's going
West.
west.
Right.
Okay. So on
sign right up there, as most of you know. I live at 15 Hicks Lane. And a few years back, when I was pulling out of my driveway, a car ran the stop sign here, hit my car. It spun 180 degrees, and when the emergency crew took me out of the car, they thought my back was broken. They put me on a stretcher. I'm fine, but it was a really interesting experience because all these years that I've lived there, I've lived on that block for 45 years, and my husband has lived in the community for 80 years. And prior to the last 10 years, that four-way stop sign worked. With or without the bushes, by the way, Louis. It worked. There were stops. It's not as if there's no signage there. There's a four-way stop
I
sign.
understand, but what
Then
what
what
will you
happened
suggest?
was, for a period of
One second.
time, when the 6th precinct was still open,
It's still open. It's now
they
open
put,
again.
I know it's open again, but when they closed it and went to the 3rd precinct, something changed. When they were in the 6th precinct, they positioned a police car on this corner, and every time somebody ran the stop sign, they got a ticket. And then after a while, I mean, there were so many cars stopped all the time, which is what I was trying to tell you. There was this systematic stopping of cars. You just didn't get to run through that stop sign. And so the word spread in the community. You run that stop sign at the four-way stop sign on Hicks and Forest Row, you get a ticket. And for a period of time, we had bliss. Nobody was running the stop sign. Then they closed the 6th precinct. Then the police cars had to come from the 3rd precinct. The entire way the community was covered became different. And all of this irresponsibility behind the wheel of a car resumed itself. I'm as frantic as you are. I'm as concerned as you are. But I don't think, with all due respect, I don't think my mayor can fix this. I don't think that we can make a new law. I don't think we can put in a red
Well,
light.
I tell you what we can do.
I
There's
think-
no red light. I think some.
And I think going to the county legislature is sort of a sidebar. I think the police department needs an official letter
Right.
from this
So-
board saying, we need a presence here for X amount of months to study to see if that presence reaps a lot of tickets and
So
stops
I
the
can
accidents.
say one thing that I
Maria?
can do. I can say one thing I can do. I can call the 6th precinct and ask them for more presence, and I can also call the police commissioner and see if he can help with this issue, because it has gone long enough that needs to be really addressed to the highest person in command. And I think the commissioner has been a good friend and has worked very hard to keep us safe. I'm sure he's going to take this matter very seriously.
Okay.
Okay.
The other thing that we didn't understand is the issue of the type of stop sign or potentially the size of the stop sign. Is that something that,
That's traditional.
What does that mean?
that,
That stop sign really only needs to be a 24-inch stop sign. It's a 30-inch stop sign. Every stop sign in our village is a 30-inch stop sign, but we're only
See,
required to have
I
a
do agree with Louis. You see,
I'm
if
just
you're not paying attention,
right?
and you're on your phone or you're texting or reading your email or you are doing whatever it is, and you're zooming through, trying to get you can have a red light there, and
Right.
people pass a red light.
Right,
And I think we can have a police sitting there. You still can have an accident, but I'm hoping that after you get multiple tickets, as Rebecca said, hopefully people become accustomed to drive safe.
The other thing,
A good example of that is on East Shore Road, going down that hill. Yes, enough people have gotten pulled over that the word on the street is.
By Kings Point Police.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
They put
yeah.
pressure enough.
I hear.
Even if they're not sitting there, you go this.
Yeah, you're right.
Because enough people have been pulled over.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's word of mouth.
The other comment I want to make is that every stop sign in our village has that red bright side stick on the channel pole. That's
Mhm.
not required by law either.
Right.
Right.
But when you see that thing at night, it lights up. That thing looks like a giant lollipop out there.
Some people are get the lollipop.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right.
We will try to, obviously, we're gonna do everything we can to.
I will
Get the police
send him a
on-
message
I
tomorrow
have
morning.
made a note for myself. Mr. Small asked me to touch base with him in a month So hopefully, I just hope it's one instance where we could see the county and the
Right,
village work
well,
together.
the police commissioner will hear from it tomorrow. I'm sure he will
Okay.
take whatever action he deems necessary.
Okay.
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 So, you know, Dan is very familiar with this village because he was working here for quite some time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just a quick follow-up in terms of what we can do as a community and a board. Two thoughts. One, let's say at the annual crafts fair or something, I know as the vigilant or the alerts have the fire safety van, push car safety, because this is not an anomaly in the village. I've seen it in 20 years. You can have topic of discussion for many streets in the same vein.
Car safety meaning people
Cars
drive.
speeding, blowing through stop signs, accidents. There's no shortage of it.
Just repeat your suggestion.
So, let's say at the annual crafts fair, as we have with the alerts of the vigilant, a fire safety van pushing the children, going through the smoke-filled room, discussing fire safety, start pushing auto safety. You know, it's again, it's one thing. It's not mandatory. It's
By
not
who?
By the village. Have set up a booth.
No, you can't do it by the. You should be by the police.
It has to be
Said,
police.
okay,
We're not-
police, village,
we're not
whoever.
enforcement.
But as a means of trying to get that on the forefront of people's minds, perhaps on the village, on the penalty side, in addition to whatever fines are levied by the police or issues with accidents, mandate community service. Okay, make them be crossing guards. Okay, you're in an accident, you go into somebody's hedges or window, congratulations, you've earned several weekends or weekdays where you now have to stand at a corner, making sure people get across back and forth safely one way or the other.
Interesting idea. That's something.
You could the VTL only the VTL provides for fines and oddly enough, possible jail time for any traffic infraction. But
I'm sure the
the
judge
only
can.
time the only time that you would get a community service is if
In addition to, not
no,
instead of.
Yeah, right.
Instead of, it would be with a plea deal. Yeah, but
See,
and that's usually that's something
That's
that
done by the
yeah.
judge.
A lot of these small village courts, not just this village court, you know,
Yeah.
almost every village court. You run through a stop sign, what is it, 2 points to go through a stop sign?
Three.
You come in, 3 points to go through a stop sign, and you come in here, you sit there with the prosecutor, and you know what, now it's not a stop sign, it's a parking ticket, or it's something else. It becomes down, they plea bargain down. So you know what, next time you go through the stop sign, you're like, ah, fuck it.
Louis.
You got. It's great thing. I'm glad you didn't have that news right there.
First of all, wait, quiet. First of all, you can't be a crossing guard unless you are appointed by the Nassau County Police Department. It's a big training course. You have to.
We can ask them to clean the garbage on Middle Neck Road.
We're talking about a crossing guard.
No, I'm just saying, as far as what he
No.
said, do community work,
No, it
community
won't
service.
That's another problem because if somebody gets hit by a car while doing
Yes,
the service,
while
then
doing
we
it,
get
you
liable.
get
So,
sued.
yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
So it won't work.
So
But
let's move on.
you could, I think this village, this board could promote a traffic and driving awareness program. Something, you can advertise it. You live in our village. We want to keep you safe. Your children are here. We want to keep the children safe. You should be able to come up with a program, traffic awareness, driving safety awareness.
Or even a video on the website, something that encourages that kind
Yep.
of.
Who goes on the website? That's the question. The people that are driving that way, I mean, listen, these are great ideas. I just don't know how effective they could be for those people who don't care about driving safe. I mean, put it this way.
But you can
it
try.
has happened. It has happened.
We could be the first village that does it.
I understand, but
They wouldn't get away with this in Kings Point or Great Neck Estates.
reason they
Why
don't-
our village?
the reason
Because Great
is
Neck
that they
Estates
have their
gives
own
out
police.
600 tickets a month.
They have their own police. I'm not saying that's an excuse,
I'm
but
upset
it's a
because-
lot. You see, you have
You know,
Gene,
that house you're talking about, I nearly bought years ago. And I went there before I went to the real estate company showed it to me. But I went there 2 days and I stood on that corner and I said, no way, this corner is dangerous. We didn't buy that
Well,
house.
let me see what response I get from the commissioner tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there. I'm hoping that we'll have more enforcement. The difference is between Kings Point and other villages that have their own police force is that the board can direct the police what to do. Here we can ask and hope that the Nassau County does what we ask them to do, and I'm sure that they have no reason not to, but it's different. It's a lot different than
But
having your own police force.
We're growing, we're getting more apartments, you're bringing more traffic in, the situation only will get worse. You've got to stop it now, not wait.
I hear you. I hear you.
Thank you.
Yes.
You can certainly, it's my fault. You can certainly request from the county a traffic study at that intersection, 3 to 5 years worth. Based on this study, you can also request that a pop officer stay in that area because of the study and what was found from that study. And that's what they do. They will come there and they will do enforcement. There's also radar speed devices that you can have Legislative Birnbaum request at a DPW. Your speed is this is what the speed on that street is, certainly on Hicks Road. Speed
Well, I can
bumps-
say that I have asked multiple
Okay.
times. It unfortunately hasn't come to fruition, but I'm hoping that this
Well,
time.
let me see if there's something I can do. I get it from the town of North Hempstead in certain areas of Great Neck that have issues, okay?
Well, there's this and also the Hampshire, so those are the
Okay,
two places.
so speed radar device is another one. Speed bumps, I know he's not gonna like it, and the county frowns on it, but there's also speed bumps that if you go over at a certain speed, you're parked on a rock.
The county police don't like them.
They don't like them either, but I'm just saying there's certain options that you can go.
They-
That's
they-
probably
'cause
one of the
people then
most.
swerve to avoid them.
Right, there's some of them
They
that-
lose
that
control
is
going
pretty
over them.
smooth,
They go
but when you go over them,
airborne.
you're gonna feel them. They're not gonna knock out your transmission or anything. There's all these options that is at our disposal that we can probably go for, but I would start with asking for how many accidents happened at an intersection. Let's talk to Deputy Inspector Vegas at the 6th, even though they're working out of a trailer. They didn't have less cars here when everybody went to the 3rd because cars did not all go to the 3rd. Whatever took care of the Great Neck area still remained at the precinct here, the cars, and took care of the Great Neck area, okay? But Deputy Inspector Vegas could be able to help you on that situation.
Thank you.
If there's any more you need, feel free to reach out to me, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a long agenda. Let's,
We have a long agenda. Yeah, you want to move on to the next?
The next item is contract for Montreal Paperman and Associate, the assessing unit for the village. You have the contract here.
Speak
It's
louder.
the Same as how you need the.
It's a contract for this year's 2020 assessing unit for the village. They are independent contractors. They have the contract here if you would like to review it.
It's the same as.
It's the same as last time.
Same as.
They have raised their prices. I'm not sure exactly by how much, but it's slightly higher than last year.
Yeah, I think it's much higher than last year. It seems to me that it's almost the same.
It's very similar.
Okay. So that's mine to sign, okay.
Okay. I'll move it.
Is there a motion to approve the amended and updated proposed proposal dated August 21st, 2019, and approve the mayor or his designee to execute the same? Moved by trustee Sobel, seconded by trustee Hope. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
Next item is the municipal audit services. They are a CPA firm that they do an audit from 2016. Usually they do a 3-year audit on the gross receipt. As you might know, the gross receipts are utility companies such as electric, gas, cable, and phone companies.
their gross receipt is subject to 1% that the village receives that. What they include in the gross receipt is not public, but we have the right to audit them to see what they include in that gross receipt and what is subject to the 1% tax that we do receive that. This firm offers that to us. They go on behalf of the village. We have dealt with them previously in 2016. They have done a 3-year audit. We have recovered $25,000 from various companies. They're proposing that they should do a 3-year audit again, and I have the contract here for you to review.
And do they get a percentage?
They get the percentage, yes. They get a 45% percentage for 45% for what they recover, and then 25% for the following 2 years, only on the portion that was included. It was added to the gross receipt that was subject to 1% tax. So, for example, if you're going to get 100 and now it's raised to 120, that extra 20 they charge 25% of that, so they get $5.
So this is something that you would not be able to recover regardless.
Right, no,
So
like
it's-
we do it, yeah.
When was the last time we ran?
2016.
2016, the 3 years.
And we recovered almost $25,000.
So it's worth it. Yeah. What is that? You gotta take it back, yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the agreement and approve the mayor or his designee to execute same? Moved by trustee Mendelson, seconded by trustee Hope. All in favor?
Moved by trustee Mendelson, seconded by trustee Hope.
I didn't hear what he said to begin with. Darnell, you need to repeat it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Just for your edification, the motion was to approve the agreement and to approve the execution of the agreement by the mayor or his designee.
Right, and that's it. The item on the agenda you were so far.
Yes.
Right, okay.
The next item agenda is a request from Simchat Torah Coordinate Committee to close the street, permit for a temporary street closure at the corner of Piccadilly and Middle Neck Road on October 21st from 8 p.m. through 11:30 for the 28th annual Community Simchat Torah Public Gathering. Here's the request letter submitted, and we have done it in the past. We have usually approved this request.
Can I have a comment?
Yes. Yeah.
I have a problem with this. I had the problem with it the last time, but I wasn't at the meeting for it. We have parks. Great Neck Park District has 18 parks and some parking lots. And people who want to gather and celebrate can meet in a park. Piccadilly, Fairview, Baker, and Hicks are the feeder streets for all of the Baker area. And you close a piece of Piccadilly Road, people want to get out there, they can't. People want to get in there, they can't. You disrupt traffic for the entire Baker area, and I don't see why. The Village Green is only, what, 4 blocks further down the road
It's about half a mile.
on Middle Neck
It's
Road?
about half a mile.
So, I'm sorry.
It's about a half a mile.
No, it isn't. Oh, no, not remotely. If it's a quarter of a mile, I'll knock my socks off. Because I used to walk to the train
Okay.
station. No, it's from Piccadilly to the Village Green. The question is not a matter of inconvenience, because obviously they're talking about this, it's not Shabbos, right?
It is considered Shabbos. They can't drive.
They can't drive.
cannot drive.
It's
a
on
holiday.
Friday night or Saturday night?
It's holiday.
It's a holiday.
It's Simchat Torah. It's
It's
a holiday.
Simchas Torah. Okay.
It's
So
a
in other words,
non-driving
what
holiday.
you're saying is that we should close the street. The piece of it that bothers me is not that they should have a celebration. It's not that we should accommodate people. It's that it accommodates a small group of people with the potential to incommodious the whole rest of the Baker Hill area. It's as if nobody uses the Piccadilly Road, and so now we can close it for a few hours. It doesn't seem an appropriate thing to do because it isn't kind to everybody else in the community. And I think that what it does is, it really has a ripple effect. I've heard people talk about the closure on Piccadilly and how unfair it is. Nobody's going to come and tell you about that. But if it creates disharmony within the community, why would you do it? Especially since it closes off Piccadilly Road for those hours.
Right, so I think the reason they're using that is because it's close to a synagogue and they need the Torah to be taken out and taken back in.
Right.
To take those all the way to the park,
Yeah, I know.
to carry it and have no place to place them, it's not what they can do. So it's not like you can offer them the park. It's that area that they have used for I don't know how many years. And for us to say all of a sudden that we're not doing this.
I think that we only ever did it once before, am I correct?
No.
No.
How
It's
many
been
years?
20 years.
How many years?
It's about 20 years.
Okay.
28
so
years, 28 years.
How about Temple Bethel is right on the corner with an enormous parking lot. It's a synagogue. It would be off the roadway.
Mhm.
Then they would only have to carry the Torah across Middle Neck Road into the Temple. I'm sure Temple Bethel would accommodate. I just don't think it's right to close the roadway. I
Thank
think
you.
that
It turned out that
Okay.
it was there originally because that was kind of like a central location so that all the other temples in the area would walk down to come to that area because it was kind of centrally located amongst all the other temples, and that's why they picked that area to do it. Before that area, I think they did it at, I don't know the name of the temple, the second one on Old Mill, Great Neck Synagogue.
So why not have it?
And a few years,
Thank you.
and a few years back, they had an issue with that. I believe that had something to do with the fire marshal and too many people inside the building for that, and they stopped doing it over there. And that's how it ended up at Piccadilly Road, and it just happened to be that, like I said, it was centrally located. Everybody was able to walk to it because, and they do get a good amount of people. And
So I don't
would
understand
say-
how it's going to interrupt people.
I would
going
say we've
to
probably been
Middle
doing it
Neck
at least
Road.
20 years.
You can't close Hicks Lane, you can't close Fairview, you
So
can't close.
none of those are
you can't-
closed.
Well, if you, I'm giving you an open-ended, open-minded notion of this. I'm perfectly happy for them to celebrate, but I don't think a street that accommodates the entire community should be closed, even if it's a matter of habit. Habits are things that can be broken if they affect people badly, and I've heard it talked about to the extent that I know it may not be in the best interest of the village to not move it into the, let's say, the Bethel parking lot. If it was once a Great Neck Synagogue, that's even further away, because Bethel is right across the street, am I correct?
There's another parking lot to the north, a little bit, usually part of that restaurant right now is closed.
Right. It's only, offering it as an idea because it bothers me that we're closing a road.
Right.
It
but,
bothers
we
me
do
that we're.
close, right, I know.
But we're not closing Wimbledon that's 2 blocks long, and only people who live on Wimbledon go on Wimbledon. It's that this road is a feeder street, and therefore it's worth
I still,
considering.
I drive there all the time. It's a small portion of the road that is getting closed.
No, they closed Piccadilly.
Right, no, they're not the entire Piccadilly.
No, they closed the entrance
Right,
from.
they close the
closed
entrance, but they can go from Middle Neck Road.
You they go to Baker Hill.
Right, they can go from Baker Hill. Yeah, I mean,
By the way, for everybody who laughed at me when I said it's a half mile to the Village Green, Annie did a Google map. It's 0.6 miles, so I was wrong. It is. It's a half mile.
It's 20 minutes to the train station.
It's a half mile. Thank you.
Rebecca,
Harold was
people-
on it, although he wasn't offering it.
Yes, and it's, we only give news that is, okay.
It's fake. Fake news.
As well, if they could look at how the lights are positioned. The last couple years, the lights have, I don't know if they got new lights or whatever, but they're very bright and in the eyes of the people who are driving. And it's blinding.
Okay.
Can you
So
just
they could
put
just
'em-
position
all
them
right.
down
All
or
right.
a different direction so it's not.
Piccadilly. So you're saying
Whether it's
people
built
that are
into
driving
the-
on Middle Neck Road, it's, okay.
We try and keep it so,
Okay.
we try and keep the lights so that at least some of it is shining on the roadway so that pedestrians that are walking across, because there is quite a bit of power of people that are walking. So, yeah, so I try to keep some on the crowd, and I try to turn some so that they're turning towards the street so that people crossing can be seen.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things, is that it sometimes spills into Middle Neck, you know? I don't know if the
Yeah, well,
people that are there can keep
Okay,
it.
let's.
I usually put cones out in the roadway.
But everyone's having fun, and it looks like a good time, but, you know, it's a.
Yeah, it's just a short amount of time that they're having it for, and I try and keep. I put the barricades down by Berkshire Road also, just to keep people from driving down into the crowd. From a safety standpoint, I try and keep the trucks blocking the cross street on Piccadilly itself, just so somebody doesn't come down Old Mill Road and try and go through the crowd. So I always try and keep some trucks there as well. We've been doing it. We've been doing it, I would say, at least 20 years now.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's
Is
that?
there a resolution to permit assembly and temporary street closure on Piccadilly Road between Berkshire and Middle Neck Road on October 21st, 2019, from 8 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. pursuant to Chapter 174 of the Village Code?
I'll move it.
Moved by Trustee Sobel, seconded by Trustee Hope. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously.
Next item on the agenda is a parking lot 7, located on 8082 Steamboat Road. As you know, that parking lot has been empty for a while. There's no use for it until about a couple years ago, when the village decided to lease it to a licensee. They vacated the property about 2 months ago, and there is a new licensee. There's a new person who is interested in leasing the property again. I don't have the contract here, but the contract states it's a month-to-month lease. They need a 30-day notice. Either the village or the person who's leasing it can put the village on the notice for 30 days, and then they can vacate the property. They're paying $3,000 for that property.
$3,000 a month.
Okay.
$3,000 a month.
They are required.
The old lease was also $3,000 a month.
I would clarify that you're correct. The one nuance is that it's a license agreement and not a lease, which is, it's a legal difference, but.
Right, and also I think they are responsible to
They're-
maintain the property.
According to the village code.
Right.
No,
They're not?
You're wrong on that. The last lease.
No, they're not. I'm not talking about the last one. I'm talking about this one.
Okay, I don't know what's in this one. I haven't
But,
seen
so don't tell me I'm wrong. I'm just saying about this one.
Because I happen to know who's gonna be going into this, and it's very close, similar people. So, the last lease made the village of Great Neck responsible. for
Right, so that's why I made sure that this one does not, because,
That's why I wanna make sure
because,
that this one does not, because people
Right.
they're trying to get the cars out of there.
yeah, you can explain.
You still make all the face you want, but you're not the one in there cleaning it, I'm the one in there.
Louis,
So
Louis,
in the new
reason,
contract,
the reason I asked that must be done, because I know that we had an issue last time.
I didn't know, it would be nice if you included the DPW on the leasing of the lot. I didn't know anything about the lot until I saw it up here. If you had asked my opinion prior to the meeting, then you would have had my opinions and understood what I'm talking
Well, it's not signed yet, you can give your opinion, Louis.
Well, I'm trying to.
Okay,
You're
go ahead.
making faces as if I'm crazy or something. So I'm trying to explain to you that the last lease made the village of Great Neck responsible for it. People were dumping garbage in the lot. There was the people walking by, back and forth up that road. There's a lot of pedestrians. The grass in there was probably 4 feet high. I could never get in there to clean it. Every time it snows, I had to maintain and shovel the whole length of the sidewalk, and that should be the responsibility of the person.
And it is, now it is. In this contract it is. Do you have anything else you want to add to that contract? You can definitely take a look at it, because I haven't signed it yet.
He actually raises a point that to go in and do a cleanup.
All right, so you can get a
Security
$3,000
deposit,
security
offset
as
the
well.
loss.
It's not a big deal.
Can I get the mic for a second? So very quickly, how do we come up with the $3,000 a month?
I think it's $100 a car per month, 30 cars.
Okay, just did a quick calculation in terms of if it was a metered lot, at 50 cents an hour per car, that comes to just over $6,000 a month.
But it's not a metered car.
I understand that, but I'm saying, you're talking, this is a parking lot of 24-hour access?
And it was historically in lots, it's $15.
Right, so you know what? You're right. If we would charge Manhattan prices, it would be higher also. But hold on. First of all, we don't have meter in the village. You know that.
It's fine.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter because you have to go based on what you do with other lots. We have permitted parking that is what, $15 a month?
Yes.
$15 a month per car. We're getting $100 a car per month. So I think we are doing okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
The history on that lot was that it was once commercial buildings across the street, and once the
I understand.
commercial went,
Right.
there was
Right.
there really was no
Right.
use for the lot.
What's the name of the company that's leasing it?
I don't know.
Euro Motors House
Yes.
Inc.
Thank you.
What's it called?
Euro Motor House Inc. House in the German spelling. Yes.
They're just parking the cars. If you,
It's the same utilization.
it's the same utilization. It's been there for a long time. I mean,
It's less utilization than a public lot because they're storing cars there.
Maybe we can have him, well, he'll be responsible for it this time, but maybe we can have him put either, some wrought iron fencing going across the front or some chain or something.
They are required by the contract to put a chain in front of the property, and they are required to maintain it according to the village code.
Lately now, since those other cars have been parking and gone, since the other cars have gone, now you have landscaping trucks parking in there.
there's another car that has been sitting there for a while. I don't know whose car that is.
It's got Texas plates, it's a blue BMW.
So find out if it's actually a stolen car.
That one had no.
We can't, I've tried it through the court, but because it's not a New York plate, we don't have that information. They have been summoned many times, but.
It can't be
even
towed?
That's a question for the village attorney.
We can look into
I didn't
that.
know that this was, I didn't know that this was coming up, so today I actually had the guys pull out the original sign and get some posts to replant the original sign that had the time restrictions on it. So now if you're gonna lease it, I won't put the sign on.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, don't need to.
It's a license agreement.
Thanks.
The difference is basically in being able to terminate the license and get people out without having to go through a landlord-tenant court.
A lease agreement allows certain property rights or implications thereof, whereas a license agreement does not associate the same property rights.
So it's better for the
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So whenever you have that, we can just ask Lou, take a look at it, just says anything else he wants to add, and then we can just give me the, yeah. Okay. Veteran Days Parade, streets closure, yeah, you have
Are
to.
we taking
right.
action on this?
I think we're going to take an action. Go ahead.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the parking lot license agreement, subject to the input of DPW, and approval of mayor or his designee to execute same, and take any necessary steps to prepare the space for leasing, or licensing rather, my apologies, and require a security deposit equal to the license fee, $3,000.
I'll move that.
Moved by trustee Sobel, seconded by trustee Hope. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a request from the American Legion to hold a parade from Alert Firehouse to the Village Green on Monday, November 11th. That's a Veterans Day, starting at 10:30. They're expecting this to take between 30 to 1 hour. 30 minutes to 1 hour.
Which they do every year. Right?
Not
They did
sure
it
about
last
that.
year.
Yeah, they did it
I
last
don't know how many years back, but.
I'll move it.
Second.
But before,
We have, hold on one second,
before we move that,
Quick note on this as well.
yes, that's,
The last parade they had cars going on the, heading south on Middle Neck Road. You might wanna check with the police department because the cars were coming out of Beach Road and all these other streets during Memorial Day.
That was Memorial, you're right.
It was a Veterans Day parade.
People were going crazy out there. The cars were.
I don't know how that happened. That was the first time ever.
Hold on one second.
There were cars driving south. You remember we were
Cars
marching
driving
north?
south.
Cars were
While
driving
we're
south.
marching north.
Right.
I think the police weren't notified or given enough notification to get cars out there. So whoever coordinating this, whatever committee is coordinating this, they have to make sure that they coordinate with the police to keep the cars
Off the street.
from moving in both directions.
November 11th is what day again?
Monday.
Monday.
Veterans Day.
No comments about closing the street on Veterans Day.
Oh, Veterans Day is a holiday, national holiday.
Is it a
They
national?
did it last year. It's 1 hour.
I don't have an issue with it.
It's 10:30. It really is not even a full hour. Maria,
it's
you
not
want to
an
come up?
Japan generally handles the coordination with the 6th precinct on the Veterans Day parade, so she's aware.
She's aware of it?
Yes, as well
She was
as
the one-
some of our officers.
Okay.
She's the one who requested it.
Okay. NACOM Public Works.
So-
So we have to vote on that.
is there a motion to approve the street closure pursuant to chapter 174, and to permit the holiday parade on Monday, November 11th, from 10:15 to 11:45, on Middle Neck Road from Beach to Brokaw?
Okay.
Moved by trustee Hope, seconded by trustee Mendelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously.
Next item is a request to send 2 DPW employees to NICOM Public Work Training School. That's on October 21st through October 23rd. The total should be $825 per attendee. Requesting for 2 attendees to attend.
I'll move it.
Moved by trustee Hope, moved by trustee Sobel, seconded by trustee Hope. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next item are the minutes from July 16, August 6th, and August 20th.
August 20th, we did not have a meeting, I believe.
September 3rd, we did not have a meeting.
Yeah. We had a meeting in August.
August
We did
20th.
that? I wasn't
yeah.
here.
I was here.
I wasn't here. Okay, I wasn't here.
Yeah. I read them. I'll move them. Okay with them.
There's a motion by trustee Sobel, seconded by trustee Hope. All in favor?
I was not here on the 16th, I cannot move.
All right, let's do these
There's one that I
individually then.
wasn't
Yeah, you
Hold
should
on,
be-
there was one that I wasn't at. Hold on.
So let's do these individually.
Yeah, let's do individually.
So
For
start
the,
from August 6th.
for the meeting of July 16th, 2019, I'm showing that trustee Sobel was not here. As such, is there a motion to approve the minutes of July 16th, 2019? Moved by trustee Hope, seconded by trustee Mendelson. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Nothing crazy.
For the meeting of August 6th, 2019, I'm showing that all trustees were present. With that being said, is there a motion to approve the minutes of August 6th, 2019? Moved by trustee Namdar, seconded by trustee Hope. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And for August 20th, I'm showing that Mayor Brawl was absent. That being said, is there a motion to approve the minutes of August 20th? Moved by trustee Namdar, seconded by trustee Hope. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries.
Public comments?
No,
The
abstract.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You want to, I think Annie would like to,
We want, yeah,
advice of counsel,
executive session.
executive session.
Or receiving advice of counsel?
Executive session.
Okay.
And discuss.
Is there a motion to move into executive session?
So
I move.
All in favor? Love it. Thank you.
Actually says she's feeling better, so she's gonna keep telling us that, towards the end of the week, we'll see what happens.
I do find it amusing that an owner chooses not to attend the presentation. I mean, I looked, I didn't see anybody.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. He looked, he wasn't here.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, because not being here means you're not gonna catch any flack. But it also creates suspicion of why isn't he here?
Yeah, why wasn't he?
Every Millbrook presentation, I guarantee you Jason was here.
Yeah, Jason was always here. Are you joining us tomorrow?
I don't think so, because I don't know what it is you refer, oh, the meeting in the morning?
Yeah.
I don't think I have not been invited to join. This is what, the preliminary presentation?
I thought I said to invite you. This is working out the logistics, introducing us to the contractor.
For Millbrook?
Yeah, 10 o'clock. No?
Where, here? I'll see what I can do. I have to go look at what my commitments are. I'm in Baxter in the morning. So it's a question of whether I can split my day or something.
So I have to make sure, so what days are you back? That's a couple of hours a week.
It's actually 8 hours. I basically do between Port and Baxter. It's all day Tuesday, all day Thursday, and Wednesday mornings. So I'll go to Port North until 3 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then they're 3 minutes from one another. I'll go from Port to Baxter.
When they actually interviewed me a long time ago, and they said, yeah, it's 4 hours. And I said, thank you. 8 hours at least makes some sense.
And it's kind of been more like 9 hours most of the time.
I don't know how you do something. How do you do a village in 4 hours?
I think Kensington
Well, there's a bunch of
tries to
them.
do it because it's small enough back. It is what it is, and that's fine. And I wouldn't do it if it wasn't adjacent to Port North, and I'm already there. Matter of fact, 6 years ago when I left Baxter, it was because of Great Neck. Well, it was also because the mayor of Baxter was somebody I didn't want to work with.
The second, isn't it the same mayor as what's her face?
Nora is the mayor,
Yeah.
because she's only been the mayor for a couple of years, a few years.
What's her last name?
Higginson. Higginson.
That's not her thing.
No, Fred, blanking on his last name. Fred was the mayor.
Was it Carter?
Don't know. But the prior mayor was so problematic that they basically said he is to stay out of the office.
They took an order of protection.
They didn't go, they went one step short of that. Did they get their permit? Did Millbrook,
No permits. We were talking about demo.
so it's just a discussion?
They can't do it. They don't have 239. They have not been approved.
Okay.
Since, no, March is 113. They have November.
Is that required, is 239N? 239F? Is that required for demo?
I'm gonna let them do.
Hmm?
I'll let them do demo.
Technically?
Am I opening myself up to something?
No.
I told the mayor, I was thinking, I told the mayor this is what I wanted to do.
Avalon didn't have their 239F for quite a while. They were at least remember, it was a good year and a half, 2 years worth of construction.
That was a heavy polluted site, so there was a lot.
No, it was about the traffic. The traffic engineers, the lights, is what delayed it. And so that was,
They're nuts.
it was
Torturing.
unnecessary to delay start of construction while they worked out the engineering. I don't know what the issue is with.
So, yeah, why don't they allow something? I mean, 113 Steamboat, I wouldn't let them do demolition.
113 Steamboat is the house.
I wouldn't think of it over there. This is more abatement, disconnects, asbestos. It's not heavy duty.
It's kind of a funny thing. So, all right, so we can let them do demo. Hypothetically. What are they gonna do? They're not gonna cooperate with you? They're already not cooperating.
I'm not following you.
If you were to let them do demo and that upset somebody over there.
Oh, you mean the 230, the count? So who's gonna get upset? And what's the impact? What are they gonna even do? Truth is, I don't know if you were at the meeting that Great Neck Council Mark came. I think one of the first things she said is we're trying to
I heard screaming, I was wondering what was going on.
I'll be honest, my tooth is a little sore.
I have to go, but I just want to know what percentage of a mile is it from the corner of Piccadilly up
To the Village Green?
to Old Mill Road?
You had
Point
.6.
five.
Oh,
No,
to
no.
Old Mill Road.
Oh, well, wait, I'm sorry, from where to where?
Don't worry, we'll get there, we'll get there.
That's a joke.
I'm saying.
Piccadilly is Old Mill Road.
No, because I took the address from the corner of, initially,
She knows
I
that,
took
she
from
knows that.
Versailles. From
She knows that.
Versailles, it was .6, but from Piccadilly, I remeasured it and it was .5.
Okay, because usually what I do is I power walk there. And so I was going by how long it takes me. It couldn't possibly be.
I just thought it was obnoxious that I was laughed at.
You're
And I
getting
felt
your,
vindicated when it turned out to be the right measurement.
You're getting your 10,000
Glad
steps.
actually I know now.
Yeah.
That's why we had to
I
move
walk
it
to
a different
shul, and it's
location.
basically my walk to shul plus a little, so it's a 7/10 of a mile.
Right,
So
it's
I have
really,
an
now
idea.
you know how far it is, right, it's only just a little further along.
That's
the
correct.
road. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Is there a motion to re-enter the open session?
Yes, I move to, oh, well, the mayor's not here.
Motion to adjourn.
I think we could all use some dinner.
Yeah, you know, when we hear that long, we should really get
There, motion to end the executive session and to reopen the public session.
I move.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Love it.
We came out of executive session officially and re-entered into the public meeting.
It was, various employment matters. That's, yes.
And advice of counsel.
And advice of counsel. Thank you.
Okay. Abstract?
I make the motion. Oh, sorry.
That's the abstract for 9/17, as well as edification of the abstract for September
that sound?
3rd.
What does that sound?
I think that's my machine restarted.
Oh. Okay.
It was installed.
It's got a fan. Oh, you hit the system update?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
It's a big one. Okay.
Abraham.
Is there a motion to approve the abstract of 9/17/2019? Moved by trustee Namdar, seconded by
I'll second.
Mendelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously. Is there a motion to ratify the abstract of 9/3/2019?
I'll move.
Moved by trustee Sobel, seconded by
I'll second.
trustee Mendelson. All in favor?
Aye.
I did have to sign.
Is there public comment? Return it back to you, Mayor.
I think we have, it's 11 o'clock. We have heard public comments. If anyone has anything else to add. No, we didn't, but we heard, if you would like to make a public comment,
Now's the time.
you may.
Okay, I'd like to ask, have you put out any ads for replacement of Joe Gill, so we have a deputy treasurer, or treasurer clerk?
It has
It's an
been
employment
placed.
matter also.
It is
Excuse me?
it is employee matter, but it has been placed. It's a public knowledge.
What is?
That the ad has been
Oh,
placed.
you have, okay,
Yes.
because I'm gonna need one. Okay, 733, where the old frame shop is, the one that's boarded up. He has tenants living above there with little children, and that building has to be unsafe. It's
Has to
boarded
be
up
unsafe
below.
or is unsafe, or you
Well,
know?
I'm not a building inspector,
oh.
but when you see on the corner rotting beams above, and you see water coming down,
Really?
yes, and then you see, you know, there's little children living up there, I think that building should be checked out to make sure it's, you know, safe enough for residents.
I will have to talk to the owner, because we don't have the right to just go in there. So
I don't
if-
think you actually have to go inside to see how bad the conditions are.
if I look at it on the outside,
Not
I
drive.
can determine that it's unsafe?
Well, it has been done in the past on Middle Neck Road. I remember when Janet had her store,
All right, I will
and there was one beam from the outside that didn't look good, and immediately the building inspector shut it down for unsafe living conditions for the above people.
Well,
But
he'll
there
look-
are
he'll-
little
he'll look into
children
it.
there, and we've
Right.
also, when we had that last very heavy rain, the ground, I know I don't know what he thought he was building, digging down, looking for gold, but now the ground from the last heavy rain has gone this way and sunk down. Have you been there recently and looked?
I have not been back here.
Oh my God, take a look. Okay.
I'll check it out.
So that's important. I think that'll do. When you do the Forest Row and Hicks Lane, you know, could you also tell them to check on Arundel? Because people love to go.
Arundel and what?
Arundel,
And what?
towards Middle Neck Road.
Arundel and
They
Middle Neck.
love to go speed.
Well,
to beat
people
the
love to
light.
speed. I think
Well, we
it's.
can't use that as an excuse anymore. I'm tired of using excuses for people the way they drive.
He's
They
not
go-
using it
I'm
as
not
an
using it as an
excuse.
excuse. I'm just saying what the
Wait,
facts are.
We're not
Wait,
police.
I haven't finished. When they speed
Abraham.
to miss the light, they want to beat that light. They want to.
Gene, you know what? I'm gonna ask again. What's your suggestion?
We need, like we used to have in the past, we used to have somebody sit, a cop sit on the side.
All right, I
and
said
as soon
I'll
as they
ask.
saw them going, they
Right,
went
okay,
after them,
that's
got
fine.
a ticket.
That's something I can ask. I can't tell you that I can deliver, but I can definitely
No,
ask.
but you have to, go to the police department and.
I don't need to go
tell
to the
them
police department. I
what
can call the
on
commissioner
the
and I
side.
can ask him, and he has
Just add that to-
very responsive to what we've asked.
They also turn where it says no turn on red on Arundel onto Middle Neck Road.
It doesn't say, it says yield to pedestrian. If you
No.
read underneath, you can make
No,
a
no,
right.
No. The corner of Arundel, where the
Right.
700 building is, there's a sign there that says no turn on red.
No, we haven't.
And then it says underneath yield to pedestrian, meaning like you can turn after yielding to pedestrians.
You've got the right corner, the right-hand
Yes,
side.
yes, the one that you go south on Middle Neck Road.
I don't know that because I don't drive north and
South
south.
meaning going
I
toward,
just-
not Kings Point, toward the station.
Yes, this way.
Right,
Turn
yes,
right.
yes. From Arundel, you're going east toward Middle Neck Road, and there is a turn right.
Right on
It says
that
no
corner.
right, and then it says yield to pedestrian, but that means that you turned right after yielding to the pedestrians. You can read it again.
I will.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing no more comments, I call motion to adjourn.